Before we get into talking about the changes to the ranked mode, we have to talk about round 1 FNCS, and it was a crazy day. If you guys don't know the current FNCS format, anyone who is in Platinum Division is able to play in round 1, and you have to get to top 200 to make round 2, making round 1, in my opinion, the hardest round of FNCS every week. And I'm not alone in saying that. A lot of pros are saying, with other issues like lag and just general issues with the game right now, which I'll cover in a little bit, round 1 was insane. And when I go through the teams who didn't qualify, you will agree with me. We are missing some of the biggest names in the game. And if you guys also don't know the new FNCS format, there is no reboot round, there is no surge week anymore. It is the top 50 most consistent duos after 3 weeks makes it straight to grands. So teams who didn't even make it to round 2 week 1 are really going to struggle to even make it to the grand final now. The last 2 weeks are going to be extremely difficult for them. Before we talk about the big teams who couldn't clutch up the qualification, I did want to hype up the fact that we had 3 absolute OG legends return to play FNCS on NA out of nowhere. I never would have expected today. I was going to mention that we had Unknown Army, Zexro, and Stable Ronaldo playing in FNCS. Unknown Army and Zexro do it up, and they even went live about 5 or 6 hours before FNCS started to get Plat Division to then play FNCS. An hour into the tournament, they were in the top 25. They won 2 of their games. They were playing honestly incredible. It was so fun watching them be back. They didn't even know how certain items worked. Zexo didn't even know how med miss worked. They didn't know the meta at all, but they still had so much skill for the game. They were able to get over 200 points in round 1 of FNCS. We also had Stable Ronaldo make a return and play for a bit of fun with his mate Kel. It was just so exciting to see big OG names return that I honestly never thought we'd see back on Fortnite. I hate naming and shaming or kicking teams while they're down, but we gotta talk about these huge names that didn't qualify. And shout out to Boot for running the list on EU and NA Comp Report for getting us our NA list. And going through the list, we have some huge names. Just on EU alone, I'm not gonna read them all, but we have PKR and Jerky, Yanis and Rezon, Tripburn and Refsguard, Aqua and Wox. We even had the Duo Cash Cup winners of yesterday on EU. They were the best team in set lobby finals yesterday, beating out Cammy and Seti, Della and Pixie. Did not make round 2. Floki and T-Chips, you can go through the whole list. These are stacked names, and on EU, they were unable to make round 2. Now, on NA, we have a smaller list, but still a very, very big list of names, players you expect to even potentially win FNCS, let alone even make it to round 2. We had Peterbot and Quanti, Muzz and Paper, Chimp and Larson, Faction, Pamstu, Kasker and Cam, On1 and Chris, Jeff and OG, Bacon Moose, so many big names who didn't make it to the round 2. Now, you probably notice a lot of these are new teams. We did have kind of like a mini snakening the day before and the day of FNCS over on NA. We had a whole bunch going on, and for some reason, it always seems to start with Muzz. Muzz got dropped by Quanti. Quanti wanting to play with Peterbot again, so then Muzz picked up Paper. Paper dropped Pump while he was asleep. He had to wake up to find he was dropped for FNCS. So a lot of these new teams only formed the day before or the day of. So they do have a bit of reasoning, but at the same time, it shouldn't come down to the day before or the day of forming your duo. You can't expect the vibes to be too good, but like I said before earlier in the video, because there's so much pressure right now, knowing that if you split with your duo at all during FNCS, you're almost guaranteed to not qualify, it put pressure on teams to, if their vibes were off at all, if they didn't play too well in the Duo Cash Cup that was right before FNCS, it made them panic and it made them start looking for new duos. I do think Epic is going to bring back the reboot round or the surge week format in future. This is the first FNCS, I think, almost ever where we haven't had some kind of reboot round qualification system. I know Epic likes the reboot round format. I think it was cut from this season just because there's not enough time. With the 3-week break that Epic takes from competitive in the middle of the season for their summer break, it's hard to fit in a 5-week FNCS and the last chance major at the end of this season. We have the new season starting right as soon as last chance major finishes, so there just wasn't time. Now, let's talk about what kind of went wrong here for some of these teams, and I will give them the out. The servers were not looking great today. We've been dealing with quite a lot of server lag when it comes to all the customs and the scrims we've had over the last few weeks with our tournaments, but because those are run on regular servers, not tournament servers, I was really hoping when tournaments came back, the lag would be a bit better. And honestly, I'm trying to keep the positivity up. The vibes right now for FNCS were amazing, but the timeline was looking a bit rough. You had a lot of pros complaining about the lag, and when you have clips like this rolling around where I don't even know what is happening here. Like, I don't know if this is lag or just one of the weirdest glitches I've ever seen, but there was a lot of teams who I could see would have done far better if they didn't go down to weird issues of players like flying through their box, teleporting in, teleporting out. It was looking a little bit rough. So we'll see if hopefully Epic can make some kind of improvements to the servers coming into the next few weeks, and a lot of these teams who struggled, who otherwise would do well, can perform. But this is not going to be the last time you see teams struggle out of round one. Any of the teams that made it to round two this week need to make it count, because there's a very good chance any of them might not make round two next week. Like I said, on EU, you had Pixie and Della prove they were the best team in the region in set lobbies, and they didn't even make round two. It's gonna be an interesting few weeks ahead of us. We did, however, see a lot of the typical big names perform really well, and I want to give them their credit where it's due. We had Marius and Zangy coming in first, who did really well in the Duo Cash Cup this week. It looks like this might be Marius Zangy season. We had Zhu and Noah Riley in second. We had Seti Kami in third, Yapko and Paco, Desdrew and Lyson, Malabuka and Thomas, Artist and Volko, Prey and Hyper, QB and Scram, and then Giras and Chari for the top 10 on EU, and then Vidil and Savage just outside of that. So very, very stacked leaderboard over on EU. On NA, we had Iomzo and Rise. The Canadians cannot be stopped right now, winning the Duo Cash Cup and then winning round one opens the next day. Then we had Noah and Bouch in second, and you might not know too much about this team. I didn't either. They are a double console teams. Two console duos, both on console. Like, not one on console, one on PC, both console, making it second place in round one of FNCS. I gotta give him credit. That is a phenomenal performance. We then had Illivink and Sacred. Not too sure. I haven't heard too much about this team in third. Then we had Aoxy and Swirl, Electric, Jaguar, and Ponytaur. Then we had Rihan and Desi, Stifferoony and Mars, Vanillas and Convict, Edge and Cornelius, and then Curbty and Ops. So the top 10 on NA. Don't want to flame anyone. A lot more underrated teams, a lot more up and coming players that you wouldn't expect to see at that top 10 like we had on EU. Outside of the issues with the lag and players saying that the format could have been a lot better, the vibes were incredibly high as far as what I could see. The viewership numbers on Twitch were insane. We had clicks peaking at like 30,000. Savage had over 10,000. I myself peaked out at 8,000 viewers doing a watch party. Those are crazy numbers I haven't seen in a very long time. The player base was so much higher than last FNCS for every single region. Again, that could be due to the fact this was a summer season for a lot of the Northern Hemisphere regions. Also, there was a lot of time to get Platinum Division in ranked, which wasn't very hard, so almost anyone could play, but the hype is there right now. So I really hope that continues throughout the rest of the FNCS, and with a couple server fixes, with Siphon being re-added yesterday, I'm really enjoying watching the meta. When I don't see players go down to crazy lag, it is really fun to watch Fortnite right now. Moving on from FNCS, let's talk about ranked. So Fortnite Status tweeted out today, it's time to drop back into ranked Fortnite. I mean, it seems a bit self-aware. They know that not many people currently are dropping into ranked Fortnite, or a lot of people have given up dropping into ranked Fortnite. They said, we released meaningful adjustments to improve overall rank progression, including increased gains when eliminating players higher than your rank and decreased losses for bad games. So it's an interesting idea. I like the idea of getting more points when you take out a better team. I think that is very warranted and should be in most ranked systems in most games. Decreasing losses for bad games, I get it, but there's so many deeper issues with ranks right now that don't stem from the points. I know some people get frustrated having great games and getting like no points, or you die in last place on a brand new account and you get straight into gold or platinum. There are a lot of issues outside of this though. It's just the lack of reward. The games aren't fantastic, and honestly, I've come to believe at this point that I don't think ranked will ever have fantastic games. I just don't think it's possible really in any battle royale at this point. Apex is struggling massively. They previously had the best ranked mode of a battle royale, but at least in the Fortnite community, I don't think people are ever going to take ranked seriously unless there's some actual proper rewards. You need to give something substantial to make people want to try hard in the games and really care about winning. So it's cool to see that Epic is still trying to improve ranked mode, but at this point I have to think it's just a lost cause. I would honestly prefer at this point just to go back to arena where the queues are a bit faster and it's a bit of fun. I know some people are liking ranked, especially on EU and the larger regions, because maybe with more people they can actually get decent queue times with decent games, but I know from what I hear in the community and talking to people, the majority of people would rather just go back to arena at this point if they can't fully improve ranked. I hope they can, but I just don't know if it's possible at this point. But I want to hear your thoughts down below. Are you enjoying ranked? Are you still playing it, or do you wish they just went back to arena?